Hello, everyone. We are very happy to have you here in our first interview of 2021 for the Peaceland UNESCO Center for Peace YouTube channel. We are with Rosie Chawla. She has a master's degree in conflict resolution and negotiations from Columbia University, a business certificate from Wharton Business School, and a bachelor's degree in finance from Temple University. She has worked in the business field for 19 years and has worked globally since 2016. She is currently working as Director of Global Education and Partnerships for UNESCO Center for Peace in China. And I think it would be safe to say that she is a total powerhouse in the work of peace building and peace studies. She has a projects currently in countries like Nepal and China. And Rosie, we are very happy to have you here. I am Aireli Luna Garcia, Youth Ambassador for UNESCO Center for Peace in Mexico, and it is an honor for us to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, we shall start. First of all, Rosie, as when you sent me your bio, one of the things that amazed me the most was that your work has had a focus in business, but I've also seen that it has had a great impact on peace. And I would love for you to tell us why has peace been such an important part of your job and professional career?
Sure. So I think when I started out early in my career, I really wanted to succeed in business. And one of the main principles of business is you have to get along with people, right? So you have to learn, you have to understand your culture, your contacts, and the way that you operate in. And a lot of times in the business field alone itself, you are taught some technical skills, you are taught some industry skills, but very few times are you really taught conflict management skills, peacemaking skills, peace building skills. And the reason those skills are really important because what they do is they allow you to actually grow more in business and more in any industry that you may want to work in. And those skills require you to learn negotiation. They require you to learn mediation. They require you to learn tolerance. But above all, they actually train you to become more accepting of other people who don't think like you, who don't live like you, who don't pray to the same gods you pray to. They actually go home and live a very different culture than you. And when you bring all these different things onto a table, and now all of you have to work together, if you're not aware that all of you are coming from different contexts, different worlds, you understand and interpret what's happening in the world a bit differently, because something could be happening and it's threatening to one person, but it's not threatening to another person. And when you have elements like that and you're having to work together, even though you work in business, you have to understand that there's a missing component if you're not prepared to kind of understand that ultimately getting along with everyone, learning to understand others is a really important business skill for you to succeed and for you to continue succeeding whether you work in business or not. So I think peace building came much after for me, after working in business 19 years. And it came out of my own experience of having gone through conflicts in business, but never really understanding how to manage them, how to use them to grow myself. What lessons did I take away? So for me, it was a path backwards. I really should have had the peace first. So then I think I would have been more effective in business in where I was. So I think there's a really deeper link of peacemaking and peace building, no matter what area or field you work in, it's actually a lot deeper and more relative than we all realize. And especially in the corporate world where you're trying to succeed, if you are in the corporate world.
Exactly. And I also think that sometimes business works in such a way that it promotes negative peace than rather than positive peace. So so as you say, because it is about skills and it goes further than just being an action by itself, because it rather brings an impact.
Absolutely. And you're right. And a lot of people, and especially for our audiences, young or old, positive peace has consequences, but so does negative peace. And you are an actor in both in what you create. Many people have a view in business, oh, I'm here to work and I'm just going to do my job and I'm going to go home. But really, your presence, your words, your behavior, they're impacting others around you. And a lot of times that could be positively or negatively. But also that perception is not entirely up to you, right? Because people could perceive you negatively, but your intention or your words are not trying to do that. And this is where peace building, peacemaking, conflict resolution knowledge and theories can really help you understand why that perception is happening and what is your role in it and what is it that you can do that's within your power to turn it. So you're absolutely
Exactly.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I and like your reflection when you said that you would have preferred to first to start with peace and then go into business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I really love about your career, well, I'm really I'm amazed by your curriculum.
Um,
Um, but the experiences that you have, for example, with the OECD Forum in Paris, and
yes.
also with the consultation that you did in Palestine,
Mhm.
um, the you were a top finalist for Shanghai by Women Professional Society for Social Impact.
Mhm.
So I I've been really liking that even though you said you went first into business, you were able to take those skills and project them into what you were achieving in peace building. And I
Yes.
and I think that is what we are missing nowadays, and it is what we are teaching our delegates when we have our Models of United Nations or STEM activities.
Yeah.
And on on that matter, I I wanted to ask you, why you chose business? Why do you think that was one of the key elements for you to come to the place in which you are right now?
So I think you asked a very deep and a very thoughtful question, and I'll break it down in levels so our delegates and also if business people hear me, they can also understand that I'm honestly maybe telling the truth a little bit. So I think the first layer of all the whole world and the way that we live is we need to be able to be practical in our world today with our ideas, right? So, what does that really mean in reality? Business is just a platform where people are able to benefit each other, right? But if you look at the component of business, it's in healthcare, it's in terrorism, it's in human trafficking, it's in peacemaking, it's in collaboration, it's in every industry, if it is relative, has a business department or a business component. Even when we want in United States our candidates to win the presidency, the entire campaign is a business strategy. It's
Of
a
course.
strategy to persuade people to believe in you. It's a strategy to persuade people to invest in you, to give you money for your campaigns, to stand up for you. So the reason I ultimately chose business, because like you, when I was quite young, I wanted to be relative to the world. I wanted to grow in the world. I wanted to educate myself and be useful wherever I was. And I felt learning business foundations, learning management skills, learning finance skills, which is, as you know, in the United States, we always say that Wall Street really influences the way we work and what. Well, that's all business, right? But if you just forget Wall Street, let's say you take healthcare. Well, doctors really cannot come to work for free, right? And as much as we want to cure and help people, if we don't have a system, we are not going to be successful where we are. And business is that system. It's an operating measure that gives you sustainability, that makes you relative. So that was my very attractive point to go work in business and to learn something from the business field. And let me tell you, Miss Ariely, if I was very correct about that, because in those years of in working in business, I learned how to work with people of different age groups. I learned public speaking skills. I learned confrontation. I learned negative peace. I learned positive peace. But above all, I learned something that you really don't gain when you're in school. I learned maturity, how to become a mature minded young person. I didn't want to be old, but I didn't want to be clueless, right? So I wanted to be a young person who had the maturity to understand complex decisions, complex people, complex consequences of your actions and your words. So I learned all of that. Really, I really became ready for peacemaking, actually suffering and going through the business world, which I will always encourage young people out there to do, is to take a first step and absolutely work in a business relative industry. Because what you will find there are your strengths, your weaknesses, your maturity, but you will also find other people's strength, weaknesses, and maturity. And that awareness really gets you ready to build projects and execute your own ideas. So, to answer your question, I think the first layer of that is that wherever you are, grow there, learn from the people there, and add elements to the self that you want to carry out to the future, you know? And I took all of that and I was able to take my mistakes, my strengths, and now because I know them, I was able to channel that into peace building, peacemaking, and projects which caught other people's attention with OCD, Shanghai Women, projects in Nepal, projects in Africa on FGM, projects in India on anti-human trafficking campaigns, and now working for UNESCO designing peace curriculums to be launched in top tier cities in China. I mean, I just didn't read books. That doesn't come from reading books. And let me assure you, it comes from putting yourself out there, learning, growing, being wrong, changing, and then doing it again. So I think it's a full circle. And we can't just go into peace building after your master's from conflict resolution and negotiation from Columbia University. Because what you learn in school is theories, right? But you don't know where those theories are applicable in the world that you live in, the practical world that's hiring for cashiers, that's hiring for consultants, that's hiring for business-minded people. You don't know where those theories really are relative. So you have to try out, where is it relative? And how much do you understand of what you're learning and how much are you internalizing it to now do peacemaking and peace building? So it really comes to a full circle, is how much knowledge can you internalize and then deliver an output like peacemaking or peace building.
Exactly. I think one of the highlights of what you mentioned, first of all, acceptance, and what you say, recognize, acknowledge, and tackle your weaknesses, strengths, and maturity, not only of yourself, but of other people.
Yeah.
And in that way, as you said, you got other people's attention because you were connecting with them because you knew them.
Yeah.
So
Yes. For example, in the business world, the one thing I got used to was rejections. Rejection of being the person I am, rejection for some of the different views I had, rejection for some of the ideas that were too new or they seemed too old, or maybe they were tried and they failed and nobody had to hear them. But because I had so much of it, when I ended up in the peace building world, or I wanted to end up in the peace building world, rejections were immediate. But because I had the stamina for it, because I understood that it's not personal, that my ideas have to become more practical, I would just try again with a better idea. I would just find another partner. But I learned this nature of not giving up and not feeling sorry for my views from the business world, because it toughened me. It toughened me, and it gave me conviction that, wait a minute, you need to re-look at my idea. And I had to change my idea to make it relative. So all of that worked out for me to be able to create something good, to create something practical, but above all, create something that made a difference, that made an impact. And this is really important. How do you make impact and contribution with what you know and what you learned? And that's what peacemaking is really about, right? It's when you can make an impact somewhere.
exactly. Well, you left me amazed from the conferences that you gave us in the Winter Camp and Human Solidarity Day, and now you have just let me mind blown.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Well,
I feel very inspired to help young people like you and many others listening to the podcast. I want to tell you guys, if anything I want you to have is have a PhD in hope. Learn how to have hope. No matter somebody that tells you you're wrong, the world is not ready yet, don't give up. Don't give up.
that's amazing. A PhD in hope.
Yeah, please have a PhD in hope. Yeah.
Well, I do really hope that our delegates and audience are enjoying as much as I am enjoying this interview. Rosie, it was an honor having you. Thank you so much, even though the time difference and making yourself time in your schedule for you to be able to be with us. I am so happy to be able to call you a teammate and for us to be working together in the end for peace and hope.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity. Feel free to get in touch with me. Feel free to make my email address available. I'd be happy to mentor and help anybody start anything that they want to do. And thank you so much for doing this. I think you're making a considerable difference in doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.